Hey guys, it's Jay, founder of Matters of My Heart and Jay the author, and welcome back to Matters of My Heart Whenever Happens campaign. So I am so excited today. I am getting ready to do my fourth interview for this series. So Matters of My Heart, for the newbies who are just joining us, Matters of My Heart started for me as a blog, and I realized that a lot of people are going through some of the similar things that I've gone through. And so I decided to open the platform up for others to share, things that they're going through, and also build a community of support for others as well. And in part of that launch of my new emotional support program, I am inviting friends of Matters of My Heart to share their stories too, because, the whole bottom line is that we're not alone in this thing, in this journey called life. And sometimes never happens, things that we never thought would happen. It does. And so what the hell do you do then? Now, disclaimer, people, anyone who's watched any of my videos know that I am not kid friendly. None of my stuff is kid friendly. So don't watch this with your babies, because I may say a bleak word and you don't want your babies around that. This is a platform where I keep it 100 for the adults. We're dealing with things that happened in our childhood, but we're all grown here. So this is not for the kids. Disclaimer, you've been warned. It may get a little dicey. So that's what Matters of My Heart is. Matters of My Heart is launching a new emotional support program for the hurt by the hurt. And during that campaign, we're talking about whenever happens. We discuss those things. So part of my next interviewee, I am really excited to introduce her to you. But you know what? I'm not going to pronounce her name. You know why? Because I slaughter words. It's really hard for me to pronounce things. So I'm going to call her what her tribe knows her as, Wanjiru. So help me welcome Wanjiru. I'm going to call you Wan, because Wanjiru sounds like boo boo, and
somebody gave me that name.
Should be calling you Wanjiru. I'm going to call you Wan. Hey, Wan, welcome to the show.
College, any of the above.
Any of the above. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I like all my names.
I'm going to tell you up. How are you doing today?
Say it again.
I say, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine today. I'm excited to talk to you. I was a little nervous, but I didn't have my coffee and my entertainment this morning, so I'm good.
Well, don't be nervous. I'm not going to be like Oprah and make you cry. If anything, hold on, I'm putting my earpiece in now because I can't even hear anymore.
Okay.
So if anything, I'll be the one crying because I'm such a big crybaby.
My goodness.
But look, I'm just messing with my hair. I love this. I love being live because you can't edit none of this stuff out. But anyway, so the thank you for being a part of this movement. Thank you for participating in my interview section and telling me about your never. So without prolonging anything, I want to go ahead and just jump right into the interview. So Can you tell the people first, before we talk about your never, let's introduce you, officially. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Juan.
Who am I? Let's see. I am Colin Wanjiru Chegi. Like I said, I like all my names, and they're all significant. You sound like you're
from the island.
Yes, my family's from Trinidad. That's the Colin. My mother married a Kenyan, and he adopted me and changed my name. So that's the Wanjiru Chegi part. However, he was a horrible person, which is part of my backstory. But the name Wanjiru, I was told, means generous. So I like it, and I kept it.
Yeah.
I said when I got older and when I become a rich and famous author, I'm going to drop the Chegi and just keep the Colin Wanjiru, because I didn't want to have any Kenyans taking credit for my work. I'm claiming all credit. But anyway, I'm over that now. But again, that's all part of my backstory. So
I love it. I love it.
So, I mean, basically, I've been through, a lot of emotional trauma. Of course, like the rest of us, a lot of us have been hurt in childhood, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, all of that. I am openly gay and have been so back when it wasn't even popular. So that was a whole nother portion of my life. I've always been openly gay ever since I figured it out as a teenager. So I've always joked for years that I was going to be writing my memoirs called Memoirs of a Bitter Bitch. So,
oh, you know what? I want to be on that wagon. Listen, I'm telling you.
Trust me, we've linked up. We've linked up for a reason. That's part of my never. So we're going to talk about all of that. But yeah, so,
okay.
I mean, when you invited me to talk, I was like, wow, this is, it's a great opportunity because I'm not necessarily comfortable being on video, although I know that is the platform that I need to use to promote my things now. But I thank you for inviting me because now this is giving me an introduction to, being comfortable, being intimate on video.
Absolutely.
But that's basically it.
That it's really hard to be transparent for the world, because people tend, and the world can be so rude and so cruel and so evil, right. And they promote what they want to promote. And for women, unfortunately, the thing that they promote the most is sex because that's what they relate us to. But you know what? Right. I'm proud of you for accepting the invitation. And I told you, like, I thought of you when I was thinking of who I wanted to interview. You came to my mind because you have such a great personality. Like, you belong on television. You have that power, even when you talk. And so the name of your book, I'm so all over it. I'm going to write that on my board. I wish you could see my wall right now in my living room. It's lined with paper of things that I want to do. But that book right there, Juan, no, seriously, we're gonna hook up after this, Black, because I want that book to come out. Like, I love the title, but there are some stories that I didn't know. I didn't know about your background. I didn't know about your upbringing. So let's jump right into it. I can't wait. I want to hear more. Tell me about your never. I want to hear more. Okay, I'm so excited.
When we first first of all, let me say I'm sorry, people. It's the hot flash season. It's just that time of life.
Yes, so it's live, baby.
See me,
you can see.
But,
now, that's how you know you're rich and famous because Marlon Wayans walked around with his big towel too and right in his face and stuff. Yes. So
well, look, I've been saying this. I've been claiming for years. I'm doing it like I'm doing it for TV because my goal is to be like a cross between Iyanla and Ellen. That's me. I want to be like a cross between that. But anyway, never. So in relation, basically, when you asked me about this, I had thought of another never, but it was more of a good situation. So I wanted to give you something that was more painful, right? And also, I decided since it starts with you, with how we connected with you. So, basically you were working with my partner and my never was, I never thought that I would be broke and homeless, not having any place to live. So at the time when you offered your apartment for us to stay in, I was like, wow, that was a prayer answered because what had happened was I stepped out on faith and left my job at Verizon back in 2010. I had been diagnosed with Sjogren's disease, and I also have diabetes, and I have a few different health issues going on. I kept having to have surgeries and all of that. So finally, I was so glad my mother convinced me to just go ahead and apply for disability. Although I wasn't completely disabled yet, she was like, apply now while you're earning a lot of money. So because that's what it's based upon. And I didn't really know that. And I didn't want to accept the fact that I'm like in my 40s and you talking disabled like for the rest of my life. So that was a never right there.
That's a never, yeah.
But I'm one of those hard-headed people. I refuse to believe that God brought me this far to be like, boom, this is it. This is the end of your life. So I stepped on faith and, left the job because they told me, I asked God for a sign. So I had heard a rumor that they were going to give us a $50,000 bonus for leaving. And I was like, okay, God, if they give that, when they give that, that's my sign that you're saying it's okay. Let me step out and leave. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, 50 G's, woo, I could work with that. Right. You know what I'm saying? That'll last me to whenever. Yeah. I was like, I never thought I'd be years later with no job, right? So I was like, oh, this is good. And then plus they allowed me to take out my pension, all that stuff. So literally, I walked away with a good grip of money. So, you know, in my mind, like I said, in my plan, I was like, I'm going to be good. I'm going to do vending, and I'm going to sell food at the flea markets and all that shit. Yep. And of course, obviously, that wasn't what God had. None of that, right? Yeah, so, none of that. None of that. But it was cool. And then what happened was I had a month between when our money actually came. And I'm going to keep it completely 100. I'm definitely addicted to the weed. I just have an addictive personality. Definitely. So anyway, I signed myself up for some rehab because I was like, I don't want to be.
That's your culture. That's your culture. Aren't you from Trinidad?
Yeah. I mean, it works for me. I have other stories about that too. But at that time, I knew that I was like, I think I need a little help because I ain't want to have a whole grip of cash and then, you know, just be free to smoke all day long. So I was like, I got to figure something out. So anyway, I, you know, got my head right or whatever. And, you know, my life was moving along. Everything was going fine. I was able to go to school because I'm a vet. So the Army agreed to retrain me since I used to do telecommunications before. And with my disabilities, I can no longer do that same job. So I was able to go back to school and get my bachelor's in marketing, which I basically just got December. But anyway, then the next never was my mother passed. My mother passed in December of 2011, right? And that was the time where I had no income. Like it took maybe about 2 years for disability to give me my money. So we was like completely broke, right? Of course, Johnny, my partner, was working, but you know, I was used to making my own money or whatever. So long story short, by the time we met you, like, you know, shit was on the bottom. We finally got, you know, my settlement, like right after my mother passed. I think I got my settlement maybe in February. So she passed in December. I was still grieving. Then I got the word that my sister, I had an older sister on my father's side, that she was ill. And she was only like 48. So basically she ended up dying like 9 months later. She died in October, but she was like basically bedridden. It was just horrible. Anyway, it was a lot of grief that year, that 2012. And then what else happened? Then when we had to move out of your apartment because you were getting rid of it, we literally had nowhere to go. So the never was, I was like, I'm gonna be straight up in a shelter. Like we're gonna be homeless. But God hooked it up and we ended up staying in the extended stay America. And I used to joke and say that we're struggling in luxury, right? Because I was like, it's not like it's a flea bag motel and shit. But we had enough money to be there for a couple of weeks. And then, you know, I just kept praying. That's what I do. That's the only thing I know how to do. Besides doing something illegal, you know, I got to pray. So that's what I did. And we ended up finding a beautiful brand new apartment in Elkridge. I found out that I qualified for something called the Moderate Income Housing Program, where in Howard County, they set aside, you know, certain units for people that are making moderate income, like myself. If you're on disability, you make a certain amount. So I was able to qualify for this wonderful apartment, which normally I wouldn't have been able to afford. So that was, you know, how God kind of turned that never around. But I will say I never thought that I would be grieving the loss of my mother, my health, my money, my sister, you know, my security all at one time. And that, I didn't even know I was depressed for like a year. Like I was just, you know, I was trying to keep it together, but, you know, and again, I kept myself smoking. So I don't want to think about that shit, you know, but with grief, what I found out was that shit don't even work. I could smoke 24/7 and the sadness would still just permeate my soul. So, you know, I just had to walk through it. But that was it. That was my never. Like I never thought that I would be literally homeless. So, you know.
Wow. I tell you one thing that about smoking weed is that it's a self-medication coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when my daughter first, committed the act against me, I won't say what it is right now because I don't want to, but when she first did that, the only thing that kept me through it was smoking weed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what weed did was it relaxed me so that I'm not having an anxiety attack. But when I wasn't high, I was having anxiety attacks. I was having panic attacks, and I couldn't stop it because my feelings and my emotions just took over me. And so I couldn't control that. The only thing I could control was that weed. So I don't promote going out and getting high, but I never got high and wanted to kill somebody either. So what are the bad effects of weed? We can talk about that on another time. But the only thing that it did do, it kept me out of jail. That's what it did do.
That's what I say.
That was, so if it worked for me at that period, and I'm not saying that everyone needs to smoke weed and calm down. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we don't judge here at Matters in the Heart. So that smoking weed for me at that period, because I was so out of control emotionally, that was the only thing that really kept me calm, and it kept me out of trouble. And it kept me from responding how I really wanted to respond, because I really wanted to come back in anger full force. But weed made me sleepy. So I slept. And I stayed out of jail.
I almost say that. I used to be so angry that I would have to smoke before I could even express myself, because if I didn't, it was going to be an explosion and I might be in jail. So I'm with you. I mean, that's why I say, I got jokes, because I mean, that's the one thing I've been using that all my life, and it is part of my culture. So I mean, maybe it was meant for me. I don't know. That was my medication.
I have nothing bad to say about weed. It has, it hasn't done anything against me, and so it is what it is. And I don't really care for people who judge me based on how I live. Because you have not walked one goddamn step in my shoe. So when you can walk my life and then you can handle it better, go for it, boo. But until then, you know what I say, shut the hell up. Right. And I hashtag that a lot, Juan. I do. That's one of my hashtags, shut the hell up. I don't know.
My hashtag is get the fuck out of here. That's my hashtag. GTFOH. Fuck out of here. Or just FOH. Yeah.
I love that too.
Yeah,
okay, so now.
Fuck out of here.
I love it. So listen, this is so real. I absolutely love it. So listen, tell me something. What advice would you give to other people who are going through their numbers?
Well, pray. I mean, that's all. Like I said, my benchmark is if I'm at a point where I either can do something illegal in my own mind, like, steal or connive or manipulate to get what I need, I don't think God would really like that. So I figure, okay, if that's the only thing that's coming in my mind, I got to go the opposite way and pray. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much what I do. Like I'll never forget the day my mother died, man. I watched the blab of your friend the other day, the guy, when he talked about his dad, and I felt the same way. Like the mantle has been just dropped on me. I walked from my bedroom out to the living room. I have a recliner that I always pray in and I meditate in. So it had it's like a good aura around that corner. So the day that my mother passed, before I even went to the house to see the body or whatever, I dropped to my knees, which God knows I don't never pray on my knees. My knees hurt. I dropped to my knees that day. I was like, okay, God. I felt like everything that he had been, that I had been taught up to this point, it's now you got to put that shit in action. So my mother was a prayer warrior. So now I'm the prayer warrior. And that's pretty much what I do. That's my advice. I don't really, even if you're not necessarily a Christian, I don't care if you talk about the universe or Allah or whoever, you have to put your faith in something bigger than yourself when these nevers happen. You know what I mean? Because we're humans, so we're not privy to a lot of spiritual knowledge, but spiritual beings, obviously, they know the future. So they know what was coming in your life. So when you pray, they already have the answer. Right. But I mean, it takes experiences to get to that point, but that's the point I'm at right now. You know, just pray.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And, you know, faith is kind of tricky for some people, you know, because it is something that you can't see with the natural eye, but you have to believe that it's there. And it's interesting that people get up every morning and they automatically breathe. They get up and they walk around and they don't know exactly how that happens. You don't even see air, but people tell you that you're breathing air and you believe that. Well, faith is the same thing. I don't see it, but, and I say this, I heard a preacher say this a long time ago, and I say it now, is that you have to see it before you see it or you'll never see it. That's what faith is. Exactly. So walking out into like what you're doing now, being a part of this blab, telling your story of your nevers, you know, the loss, the tremendous loss that you've had, not just, you know, your mom and your sister and your family, but your finances, like everything that you felt comfortable in was snatched right from under you. And so being able to start a blog after all of that, and being able to share your story after all of that. And I remember a story you shared just recently, if you don't mind me sharing, I'm going to share it anyway, about the church. The church is not nice to homosexuality. They're not nice to it. And so you had to deal with the church and your faith and your belief in God against all odds. And for that, I applaud you like 100%. You are the mother, you know what I'm saying? You are it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because
one thing that, and I say this a lot to people, one thing is you cannot tell me who God will and will not love. And if you have that power of knowing God in that way, I'm afraid of you. Like, I want you out of my space. Because you don't know the mind of God. None of us do. Right. What I love about him is that he loves us unconditionally. He doesn't judge us, you know, and so, and he doesn't put us in a box. Oh, these are all the homosexuality people, homophobes over here in that box. And these are all the heteros. They're all in this box. And these are all, he don't do that shit. Right. Only people do that. Only people do that. So matters of my heart, I have made up in my mind, like part of our mission is we do not judge. We do not turn people away. Everyone is welcome here because that's how God is. Like you're going to see 1 Corinthians 13 love here because that's what the world needs now. We don't need another church telling us, condemning us for our choices and our behaviors. You know, man, get the fuck out of here, right?
He already said Jesus came here. He came to hang with the people that need him. If you already think you got it going on, we don't need you.
Well, like you just quoted my favorite parable in the Bible when Jesus was sitting with the sinners and the taxpayers, and the Pharisees came back, and not the Pharisees, the people, the Bible teachers. The Bible told us. I'm gonna call them Bible told us. But they came out, I was like, why are you sitting with them? He's like, well, you don't need me. I came for the sick. So I will remain in my sick state so that God can use me.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. I was reading, I was doing Bible study the other day, and I remember I wrote down, God multiplies what you have. God works best in your weakness. So the scripture says, you have power, you have the power of God, but it's your word. When you speak out what God's promises are, that is power. That is the power that works. Like every job that I've ever held, I've not been qualified on paper, but I have many miraculous stories that I will be sharing in my book or whatever. But I just remember one time, I got a job as a technician working at Verizon, and I thought I was happy to get the job. But then when I started working there, I realized that everybody there had been to like engineering school and had degrees in electronics. I ain't have none of that shit. I just know how to look at colors and I can analyze some shit. Okay. I just use my common sense. But I realized that was the favor of God. Because I mean, I'm like, I'm not qualified for that.
Yeah.
And that pretty much happened everywhere. So I'm like, hey, ain't no reason to be scared now. He been working with me and I've been weak. And I also have story like, okay, so I'm gonna tell you, this was crazy to me, and this is why I say you can never put God in a box, right? So when it comes to faith, now again, I was trying to handle all this emotional stuff, but when my sister passed, my buddy happened to be here. God did this for me, definitely. He sent my friend here from Germany. Neither one of us knew why he was going to be here. He just showed up the day I moved into this apartment, and he was like, oh, I need to stay in the States for a couple of months because they won't renew my visa in Berlin or whatever. So I kind of thought I was doing him a favor. But when my sister passed, he was able to travel with me to Florida. And I'm telling, when I got there, I was like, I couldn't have handled it by myself. So basically God kind of sent him to be my like guardian angel or whatever. Because right after that happened, he was able to go back. But while we were in Florida, you know, I hadn't smoked. So of course I'm dealing with all of this like straight up sober. Yep. So me and him,
raw.
Like on the day of the funeral, right? It was raw. So the day of the funeral, when I walked in, I swear, I was like, yo, I didn't even expect to do this because my sister and I were cool. And I kind of knew, I thought I had accepted that she had passed. But when I walked in and saw her body laying there, I broke down and I walked right back out of the funeral home. And I stood outside and I said, okay, God, I was like, look, I done did it for a couple of days with no weed. I was like, I don't know how you're going to work this out, but you got to help me out, God. I can't do this. I really can't do this. So it was funny because I'm over here praying to God for some weed to calm my brain. So I got through the funeral and all of that, and we went back to the hotel. And that night, my sister lived in Fort Lauderdale, so you know they have a carnival in Miami every Columbus Day weekend, and it just happened to be that weekend. So that night, to kind of get my mind off of it, we went to carnival. We went to it's called Panorama, where they have the steel band competition. And I was all, I was like, okay, my sister passed, but at least you made it possible for me to, come down and celebrate. I'm going to celebrate for you. So something in my head, which I'm assuming was the Holy Spirit, said, ask this young man over here. Because one of the ladies that we were with, my sister's cousin, her nephew was playing in the band, right? And I didn't know this boy from nowhere, but he was, a teenage dude or whatever. So my back of my head said, come on, ask this dude. I was like, I'm not asking this guy. I don't know him. So finally, I was like, fuck it. I went and asked. I was like, dude, you know where I can get some green? He was like, oh, hell yeah, come with me. Can I tell you, I got hooked up with the best weed I've ever had in my motherfucking life. I was so happy. I was like, okay, God, I don't know. This had to be you because, it came out of nowhere. But I was able to make it through for the rest of that week there. I was like, okay, I will never put God in the box because, nobody would believe that. If it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't believe it either. Okay?
Yo, this is the best story. Yes, this is the best story I've ever heard. This is hilarious. She's like, I'm assuming it was the Holy Spirit that led me over there and said, yo, that's hilarious.
Me and the dude still talk, okay? But
wow, that is hilarious. I absolutely love it. I love it. Don't put God in a box, and don't limit to what he can do. You know what I'm saying? The Bible also says that he won't put more on us than we can bear. And I know for myself, even just this past week, I was like, okay, it's becoming a little unbearable, God, but you say it in your word that you won't put more on me. It's becoming a little unbearable. I'm gonna need you to do something, and I'm gonna need you to do it real quick.
Right.
And that's the moment that he steps in and he gives us exactly what we need. Little bit more faith to go a little bit further in our life and in our walk. And in that, people follow and people see him for who he is. It's not even us. They're not even looking at us, but they see God, and then they begin to realize, yo, I need that in my life.
Right.
So, this has been the funniest blab that I've had.
Glad I can entertain.
I told you,
my purpose in life, entertaining.
But what did I tell you in the beginning? I said she belongs on television, and I knew that. And once I asked one question, and you opened up, things that I didn't even know, but also great stories. And you also, you also helped me understand something about whenever happens, is that not every never is a negative never or is a bad never. Mm-hmm. You just helped me realize that in this conversation. So I may need to kind of tweak some things now, because not every never is a bad never. But that was great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. Like, seriously. And now what my mind is on right now. My mind is on like F the glass of wine.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm about to do, but
put it up in the air.
I'm about to live. You only live up the street. You're welcome to come over whenever. Yeah, you can politic about memoirs of a bitter bitch.
Yes, listen, we do need to set that appointment though, because I want that book. That is going to be like phenomenal. So, it's so funny because you're the second person who told me about a title about bitter bitch. I'm like, wow, maybe something is in this bitter bitch right now, because I can definitely talk about bitter bitch and bitter bitches. And bitter bitches.
Back in the day, I used to do something called the Bitter Bitch Brunch Club. So every weekend, like me and my buddies, we would get together. They would talk about whatever pissed them off. You know what I'm saying? Like, men or whatever. And we would just have a good laugh. The Bitter Bitch Brunch Club. So that's how it started.
Okay. I see. Yep. That is great. Oh my God. So, I'm so proud of you for sticking through with this. I'm so proud of you for sharing your story. And I'm so proud of you for just being the awesome spirit that you are. Like, you don't let anything stop you from being who you are and being true to who you are. And that's one of the things why I really appreciated our friendship. When I first met you, like, we instantly hit it off. We instantly started making jokes because you're so comfortable in your own skin. And I never told you this, but I wasn't comfortable in my own skin until I met you. Until I started meeting even more people like you that is not afraid to be who they are authentically. Because for years, I've been who everyone else wanted me to be. I was married to a minister, so I was who the church wanted me to be, Me wearing short sleeves, you wouldn't see any of that. Wearing lip gloss and all, you wouldn't see any of that. Who I am today is because God has brought authentic people who are comfortable in their own skin around me to teach me how to be. So I appreciate that about you. I appreciate you being who you are. Just want to say that out loud and on the record.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be a part of somebody's journey. You know what I'm saying? But I'm proud of what you're doing, because you're encouraging me. Like when Johnny was telling me what you were doing, I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing the exact same thing that I want to do. Not necessarily the same subject matter, but just being, vulnerable and putting yourself out there. So, because the video blog series, I'm like, okay, all right. I got you.
Right.
That's courageous right there. But I'm proud of you. So we're gonna make this work. It's gonna blow up.
We are. It is, and I'm excited about it. And so people, don't sleep on us. You're gonna see more from Ronnie Boo. You're gonna see more from Jay. We're on a mission to turn our pain to a purpose. And so I appreciate that. And so I cannot wait to post this blab. And I will let you go. And I don't want to prolong anything, because we both got to get to stuff right now. We both got stuff on our plate.
Right. Gotta get it together.
So right. So thank you so much. And I will be in touch with you. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Definitely. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.